power.
Prejudice plus power. And your position is that women don't have power, men do have the power. Therefore, maybe you can be bigoted or discriminate towards men, but you can't be sexist towards men.
Right.
Is that fair? And the same would apply like between white and black dynamics. Like black people can't be racist towards white people because white people have the power in the society, black people don't. And so because there's no prejudice plus power, there might be prejudice, but there's no power. Black people can't be racist towards white people. Is that a fair characterization?
Yep.
Okay, so just going back to the sexist thing though, I think I've actually met your own definition though of, I don't agree with your definition of sexism equals prejudice plus power, but in the example I gave, I actually met your definition. So Kamala Harris has power, and she's prejudiced towards a man. She has more power than that specific man. She has more power than, in fact, 99.99% of men in the country. She also has systemic power too, if we want to take it a step further, because she's the leader of the executive branch of the United States government, which the United States of America is the most powerful country in the world. The executive branch is arguably the most powerful branch of the government. I mean, we could have debates over that, kind of not material though. And then she's the leader of it. So she has power, she has prejudice, and she has systemic power.
I feel like it would be sexism if majority of Congress were women, if majority of the people in power were women, not just her president.
No, but she's the president.
She's the president.
She has power.
Right.
She has prejudice. She doesn't want to hire the male White House janitor because he's male. She wants to hire a female janitor. How about this? If Donald Trump didn't want to hire a woman because she's a woman, would that be sexist?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm using your own definition.
I understand. No, I get it. I just think it's just it comes down to the history and how many there's majority men in office right now.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Kamala Harris.
We talking about Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I'm talking on the individual level. Like, how could she? Like, who cares about all that other stuff? She has power. She has systemic power. She has prejudice. I'm meeting your definition. Can you add to the definition to make it not sexist then?
It's prejudice. Like, it's another word for it. Like, it's not, instead of sexist, it's something else. It's prejudice. It's like same thing. Racist. It's prejudice. Like, black. I don't know, because it's like if I say that women can be sexist to men, then I can say that black people can be racist to white people, and I don't agree with that.
Well,
and
we can get into that, but
you know what I'm saying. That's why I can't say that's sexist, because then I would be agreeing to other.
I guess here's the problem we're encountering. You gave me a definition. I repeated the definition back to you. You agreed with the definition. I met all the criteria for your own definition. You're either going to have to concede that it is sexism, or you need to change your definition again.
Yeah, I might have to change my definition.
Okay, let's hear the new definition
then. Let me. Y'all took my phone. Let me look at the definition.
No, I mean,
my definition of sexism is prejudice and power, but
yeah, I'm using your definition.
It's discrimination. Yeah, that's my definition.
But how can, if I meet all the criteria for your definition, how would it not be sexist?
Because, like I said, it's one woman. Like, you can't, the power, women don't have more power over men in general, so you can't even say that.
But you don't think sexism, so there's like systemic sexism, but you don't think sexism exists on like an individual level? For example, if a white person calls a black person the N-word, like, we would agree that that's racist, right?
Yes.
Right, but that's on an individual level, right? So like, if the most powerful woman in the country, if she did win the
individually.
Yeah,
I guess you could say.
Okay.
Vaguely, like.
Okay. Can I do one for the racist thing?
Just before we get to the racist thing, I do need to get to her because she also disagreed. So the statement is possible to be sexist towards men. You disagree with that? Why?
I honestly did not understand the question.
Okay, so tell me what your understanding of it was.
I didn't understand it. If you can explain it to me, please.
Do you think it's possible to be sexist towards men?
Yes.
Okay.
Not me personally, but.
Right, maybe you don't have any sexist. You're not sexist towards men, but is it possible a woman or even yourself could be sexist towards men?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And well, why don't we go into the next thing then? Possible to be racist towards white people. Rebel, you disagree.
Can I give you a hypothetical?
Yes, go ahead.
Wait, before you
With
do,
your
hold on.
analogies you be having.
And you said the statement is possible to be racist towards white people. You disagree.
Possible to be racist towards white people?
Yeah, do you agree or disagree?
I agree. A lot of people are racist.
So you can be racist to white people?
Not me personally, but
possible?
I've experienced it in a social setting.
You indicated here, though, that you disagreed.
I honestly did not understand those questions.
You didn't understand the question. Okay. All right. Well, then it's just for Rebel then. I don't think anybody else disagreed.
I feel like even with talking about it now, I feel like the power gap between men and women are smaller than the power gap between black people and white people now. I feel like
So
maybe
just
back in the day.
In like another hypothetical situation, say there was a country in Africa, for example, and they had an all-black government. The country was completely run by black people. And then, for example, say that there was a bunch of like farmers who were white, and the all-black government was systemically kicking out all of those farmers out of the country, and in many cases, people were killing them. Would that be racist?
In your hypothetical situation, yes.
Well, what if
But
I
not
told you
every
that's exactly what's happened in South Africa right now?
This is in South Africa right now. They're kicking out white people.
Kicking out all the white farmers, killing them in many cases.
Well, they came and snatched us from over there, sir, first. So it's kind of like...
But these farmers didn't snatch anybody. These are just farmers who are farming their land, and they're being systemically kicked out, and their land is actually being what's it called? Appropriated, but I'm having a mental blank. But their land is basically being forcefully taken by the government because they're white. Is that racist?
Is it because they're white?
It's because they're white. It's not happening to any blacks, and it's being redistributed back to black people.
Nah, I feel like we looking out for us in that situation. Like, I'm not gonna lie, because just the history of Africa by itself, like, they not even meant to be there. They gonna get sunburnt. We really helping them out. If we really be honest, if we kicking them, they need to go to Iceland or somewhere where they can thrive better.
So you say that it's completely appropriate for the all-black government to be expropriating, I think that's the word, the land of these white farmers that they've been farming for generations and generations, and you think that because they're looking out for themselves, then that's an okay thing to do?
It's not okay. It's not okay. I'm not gonna sit up here and act like that's okay.
Would you say that because of like the heavy race factor, actually the same thing happened in Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe? Do you think
they talking about me on
Do you
there.
think that it's racist? Could that fall into the category of racist?
I wouldn't even prejudice. I give you prejudice. Like, you could say bias. You could say discriminatory.
So what
But
exactly is the difference
racist?
between that and let's talk about the Atlantic slave trade, for example. The Americans came over and they were taking slaves from Africa, right? They were buying slaves from Africa, but they were just looking out for themselves. And actually they were giving the slaves a better life because now their ancestors are all in America.
Right.
So would you say that the same logic could apply?
I can't even say that because colorism runs so deep in the world. It's just like, if white skin was seen as what's the opposite of superior? Inferior to us, then I could say like, yeah, that's racism. But in general speaking, white skin holds more power. So just that one little instance of prejudices, that doesn't mean that we can be racist towards white people.
But what about
general.
just specifically with the example we're talking about here with South Africa? And that's a material example. It's not even a hypothetical.
That's wrong, and it's prejudice. It's wrong 100%.
But if it meets your exact definition of power of racism, because in South Africa they have the ANC, the African National Congress, which is in charge of the country, and they actually have big festivals and rallies where they're chanting "Kill the Boer." The Boer is the white farmer, and they're saying "Kill the white farmer, kill the white farmer." Could that possibly be seen as a little bit racist? They're saying "Kill the white farmer."
I think I'm biased in this situation. I'm
In
not
South
even gonna
Africa,
lie.
it was illegal to be black in South Africa for a very long time. So
It wasn't illegal to be black, but there was segregation.
And to deal with white people and all of that, to have an interracial child, that
Yeah.
was illegal.
Right.
But would you say
And
that that's racist?
I don't know if it's racist. It's just get back. It's not
is.
racist.
But
It's
was
get
it?
back.
But like, was the apartheid that you're talking about, was that racist?
It was.
Okay, so then would you apply the same standard to what's happening now?
It is racist. It is.
Yep. So you think it's possible for black people to be racist to white people?
It is possible.
How about this, Rebel? Like, slavery is obviously like where this sort of conversation stems from, right?
Right.
Say, for example, if there was lots of black people that hundreds of years ago were enslaving lots of white people, would that be racist?
Yeah.
What if I
Yeah.
told you that that actually did happen? There was a Barbary slave trade, which is Northern Africans that were taking Europeans, and over 1 million of them, and enslaving them.
Every color of people were slaves at one point.
So
But
that-
it's just talking about the systemic ways that it is now. It's not favored towards black people. That's the only difference. That's the thing. Everybody's been slaves.
And last question,
So-
if just say, for example, Africa had an economic boom, just like China and India had over the last sort of 20 years or so. Say globalism hits Africa, they start manufacturing at a massive rate. China is investing in them. China is building all of this infrastructure within Africa. And then all of a sudden, you look into the future 30 years, and Africa and African countries have the highest GDP from any continent. And then, but if that did happen, then would you say that would then, and then the Africans were doing what they're doing to white people in their countries, would it then be racist?
If things would change to that point where we had that much power, yeah, then it can flip and we could be the racist ones. Yeah.
Right.
In this type of, if the power dynamics were to flip, yes. But it's like everyone was slaves, but not everyone was oppressed from the for hundreds and hundreds of years.
And systemically
Not everyone was
also,
getting
even
ate
after that.
and turned into chairs, and babies getting buried into the ground and getting their head kicked off. Like, not every race had that happening to them.
It actually
So-
did happen pretty much throughout
Sure.
human history, basically until Christian European civilization came about. The entire world was just a series of tribal warfare, and people were just killing each other. They were taking like war brides. They were killing each other in brutal ways. They would go into the place. They'd kill all of the men, keep the women for brides, kill all of the children. Because if they didn't kill the children, then the children would one day come for retribution. So that was pretty much the story of the world. It's even in the Bible, you've got sort of battles like this taking place. So the way that I view it is that human history is just a series of brutal warfare where everybody suffered. And then Christian European civilization happened, which is, after Jesus Christ, and how Christianity spread throughout Europe and throughout the world. And then this is where the sort of modern morals and modern human rights come from. Is the Christian? Are you a Christian?
I was raised Christian, but I definitely am like just more spiritual now.
Right.
I wouldn't say that.
Would you agree that it was actually the Christian countries that abolished slavery?
I guess, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
It was the
United
English,
States.
William Wilberforce, sailing the seas, trying to get all of the slave ships, and then it was the Americans who abolished slavery. But still nowadays, today, there's more slavery in the world than there has ever been in human history.
Wow.
Yeah, all
But
through the Middle East
They
and
use
India.
Christianity to enslave people as well, too. So it's
Well, the
just
Christian
like,
countries are actually pretty much exclusively the only ones that don't have slavery.
right now.
Yeah.
Right now. But I mean, that's the evilness of Christianity. They used it as a way to control slaves too back then too. So it's like that argument of Christianity being like.
But could you
that's-
also make the argument, though, that if you look at the white world, which is basically Europe, and then America, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand, basically, these are pretty much the only places in the world that don't. They've got a lot of sex slavery that happens in those countries, so that still happens. But by and large, these are the countries that don't really have too much slavery. Could you then make the argument that because there's so many black people still enslaving black people in Africa, that the oppression is actually coming from black people now? And even during the Atlantic slave trade,
What?
even during the Atlantic slave trade,
Pushing it, Jake.
well, do you know how? How do you think that the white people from America got slaves?
I know that they gave them to them, but there was also like guns involved and stuff too. Like I know they came and snatched some
There were
people, and I
also
know they
false
gave up some
promises.
people. Yeah.
What do you mean?
There
Some
were false
trades.
promises. There were a lot of things that were said, like there was going to be a better life for them and all types of shit. A lot of people got on those boats thinking that they were going to go somewhere and be taken care of, and things were going to be better. They didn't necessarily go because they were like, oh, we're going to get whipped and we're going to go help you guys pick some cotton. That wasn't why they fucking got on the boat.
But
and we all know that.
True.
the reason why they got on the boat was not by choice. They didn't willingly get on the
Some
boat.
of them did.
The reason why they got on the boat was because they were sold by other Africans. Africans would sell them into the slave trade. So they would have a slave market. The Europeans would come over and they would buy slaves from the Africans. That's how it would work. So do you think that it kind of dilutes the race argument a little bit, that it's like just white people being oppressive? If it was actually black people selling other black people?
It doesn't dilute it at all.
Why would you come and buy people
Before
anyway?
you guys made the argument, when we were talking about men and war, you guys made the argument that but it's other men who are creating these wars. So if it's other black people who are selling other black people into slavery, wouldn't that be the same logic?
That's not necessarily the same logic. I feel like black people were also stolen and taken, and like you said, lied to. I feel like they were, and then some people were taken with guns. Back then, Africans, we had spears and shit. You know what I'm saying? And there were cases of white people coming in with this heavy artillery and taking our people. So it's just like, and then like, who kept us? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I sell a puppy to you and you beat that puppy, who oppressed that puppy? Was it me selling it to you? I didn't know you was going to do all that to them.
So you think
You know
the
what I'm
people
saying?
who
Or-
captured all of the slaves and then put them into a slave market is like selling a puppy?
I'm just saying, like, if I sold, you know what I'm saying? If I sold a puppy to you and you decided to abuse it, I didn't impress that puppy. You pressed the puppy. But, you know what I'm
Do you
saying?
think it's okay
I could
to-
say I was wrong for selling it to you, but I can't say that I oppressed that puppy because you
But
decided
do you think it's okay to sell other human beings?
No. I don't think it's okay to buy a human beings either or go ask for some. That's weird.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that black people are right in all type of ways, but I don't think that we're the oppressors because we sold our people. We could sell, you know what I'm saying?
Do you look at Arab people in the same light that you look at white people?
Our people, like black people. Do I look at black people in the same light?
Do you look at Arab people in the same light?
Arab?
Because you look at
Okay, I'm
white
saying he got
people
an
as
accent.
oppressive. Do you look at Arabs the same way that you look at white people?
No. What do you mean? Like Arabs, like as far as like equality, or like do I see them as oppressors?
Arabs, yeah.
Arabs? Do I see them
Arabs.
as oppressors? No, I don't.
What if I was
I
to
don't
tell you
know.
that the Arab slave trade throughout the Middle East was by far and away bigger than the white slave trade, and also that's still happening today?
To a community, you can't say it was like far bigger because regardless, programming, our people still went through that. So you can't compare it to something that we know nothing about. We know about what happened
Right.
to our people.
Yeah,
That's all we give a fuck about.
But who are your people?
Black people.
So black people were enslaved at a much larger rate by Arab people, and it's still happening. Like you've got a lot of slavery still happening in Africa today. You've
You're
got
absolutely right.
if you and you know
To
it's
make all
happening.
these little Tesla batteries
Right,
and
and
all the electric cars you guys are driving, most definitely. Still
Yeah,
happening.
I mean, so are you guys though. You have to be culpable in that if you want to talk about people buying cars. There are black people who own Teslas too.
Okay. I didn't say that there aren't.
Yeah. So
I never said there aren't.
So
yeah.
you saying?
So then you're saying that you're culpable in slavery.
No, I don't have an electric car.
Okay, but like black people are. There are black people who have electric cars.
So do I'm the voice for all black people?
No, I'm saying, but
You
you're.
guys are all wrong.
But you
Shit.
said before that
Who am I?
slavery is them, building batteries and making electric cars. If there are black people who have batteries and electric cars, then they would be oppressors, right?
They're absolutely helping
No.
in the problem.
Okay, so
You're
you don't
absolutely
think
a part of the
you
problem. If you're
disagree with that?
complicit in
So
it, then you
wait,
are definitely
I'm
a part of the
confused. So
problem.
you're saying because slavery was us making batteries and stuff?
No.
So
At
if we-
this moment, to make all these batteries for these electric cars, they're getting all of that material from Africa. Our people are
Right,
in the fields, their
sweatshops and
kids.
stuff.
No, they are in fields picking this shit out,
right, okay.
dying.
They're in mines. They're in cobalt mines and places like this.
Oh, we're definitely complicit in our own oppression. I feel like women are too in some type of ways. I feel like we allow a lot of things, and like you said, equality, like we have to own up to. If we want equality on certain things, we have to step up in other ways. I feel like that's the same thing with black people. I feel like we don't hold each other accountable as much, but that
Yeah.
goes for every oppressed group.
I just think that in terms of the Arab and white argument, there's a specific narrative that's painted that white people are somehow like specially bad in this regard, whereas actually the white Christian world are the people who abolished slavery, the only ones. that abolished slavery?
Well, you know, with the textbooks changing so much, how can we even keep up? It's literally,
well, I mean,
history is rewritten every few years.
We abolished slavery, but did we really? Did we really?
I mean, that's we can get into that point,
know
like,
what I'm saying?
do we still have slavery today? And
Is
I
it
think that
really?
there
Because
is.
then and slave masters, they rounded up the slaves. Then we changed them to police officers. Now we got state patrol. Now we're locking up, and black people are locked up at a higher rate, and we're putting them in.
I think
making them
that's the
work.
only good argument that there actually is here, and especially in terms of modern slavery,
Right.
that by the definition of slavery, which is basically just taking somebody and making them do forced labor against their consent, against their will, the amount of people that are incarcerated today, it technically falls under the definition of slavery, except for the fact that they committed crimes. So that's another interesting conversation to have. But historically, there is, if you wanted to look at it from damage done, the Arab slave trade was far, far, far worse for black people than the white slave trade. No, so this is just a historical fact.
Oh, okay.
And then we got a difference between Africans and black people.
Do you disagree that there's still African people enslaved in the Middle East today?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Do you want a final thought, though?
No,
or-
that was a good enough conversation.
Sure. All right, we have a super chat here from John. Hey, John, thank you. Good to see you back in the chat. Rebel had to be the one to read my comment. Hilarious. Thank you. While there was no disrespect or insult, yet she read it with disrespect and disdain, not even hating me, but hating Jesus Christ and the truth. Reconsider or be without excuse. JC is Lord.
You did